Hope that you're full. This is my first time ever presenting or speaking before a presentation like this. I understand that it's a very good one. I know that my wife will do a very good job, and I understand that the presenters after her has presented a very good program, and she's encouraged to speak about health, your health, and even mine as well. So I'm going to offer prayer, and I will be introducing my wife, SANDRA HANKERSON. So if you'll bow your heads for me, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Kind and loving Father, we want to invite you into the evening, Lord. We ask that you might be with us in a very special way, Lord, and open up our hearts and minds to receive this message tonight about nutrition, given by two wonderful young ladies whose ministry will blossom from this point, Lord. We know that you have good things in store for every speaker over the weekend. In Jesus' name we thank you. Amen.
All right. Oh, I'm on already. Very good. I'm Sandra Hankerson. I attend the Sun City Peoria Church, and if you take a look at the lineup, flyer on the flyer that was handed to you, this is our events. So lots of people had a question about who was speaking, and so this is a clarification of what to expect for the weekend. I'm doing cellular nutrition. Divine worship service tomorrow will be with Dr. Diane Burnett, and then we'll have lunch, and then nutrition seminar with Dr. Burnett, and then also gardening and cooking demonstration with Karin, as you see there. On the other side, there is a little bit of a test. I am a first grade teacher, and so I enjoy what I do. I've been teaching for 29 years, and so tests are my forte. So if you want to just kind of look it over, we're not going to go through it right now, but after the presentation we'll go through it and we'll just see how you answered each of the questions. And then down at the bottom there's a little section where you can circle what you would like to have more information about, and I can contact you, and then just tear it off at the bottom, and there will be a basket outside that you can drop those in. There will also be some information for you that you could take that'll be out there on the table, and so you're welcome to help yourself to the handouts. I'd like to start off with Ellen White. This is from Teaching and Healing is the chapter, and it's the Ministry of Healing. And this is a little excerpt, and it's perfect for what our ministry is all about. There is sickness everywhere, and most of it might be prevented by attention to the laws of health. The people need to see the bearing of health principles upon their well-being, both for this life and for the life to come. They need to be awakened to their responsibility for human habitation fitted up by their Creator as His dwelling place, and over which He desires them to be faithful stewards. They need to be impressed with the truth conveyed in the words of Holy Writ. Ye are the temple of the living God, as God has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. That's 2 Corinthians 6:16. Thousands need and would greatly receive instruction concerning the simple methods of treating the sick, methods that are taking the place of the use of poisonous drugs. There is great need of instruction in regard to dietetic reform. Wrong habits of eating and the use of unhealthful food are in no small degree responsible for the intemperance and crime wretchedness that curse the world. In teaching health principles, keep before the mind the great object of reform, that its purpose is to secure the highest development of body and mind and soul. Show that the laws of nature, being the laws of God, are designed for our good, that obedience to them promotes happiness in this life and aids in the preparation for the life to come. Lead the people to study the manifestation of God's love and wisdom in the works of nature. Lead them to study that marvelous organism, the human system, and the laws by which it is governed. Those who perceive the evidence of God's love, who understand something of the wisdom and benevolence of His laws, and the results of obedience, will come to regard their duties and obligations from an altogether different point of view. Instead of looking upon an observance of the laws of health as a matter of sacrifice or self-denial, food you have to give up, they will regard it as it really is, an estimable blessing. And that's from the Ministry of Healing, pages 146, 147. I thought that fit beautifully with what I'm going to show you and what we're all about this weekend. Health. Did you know that health is the #1 concern for most people? Next to finances. Finances is number 2, but health is the #1 concern. Take a look at the statistics. 59% of the Gen Y, the teens to mid-20s. 57% of the Gen Xers. 50% of the baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer, between the ages of 40 and 60. And this little cartoon kind of sums it up. It says, what fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day? Now, what are the 2 key elements for successful nutrition? It has been said, we are what we eat. Or we should probably more accurately say, we are what we can get out of our food. It is actually the bioavailability of the nutrients that we ingest, things that we take in, and more importantly, the cell's ability to absorb those nutrients that are the crucial factors that determine a person's health and well-being. These 2 elements are the keys to successful nutrition. Have you ever thought about how we are made and what we're made of? I'm going to take you back a little bit to some biology. It's not going to be too in-depth, so you won't be bored. But it sets the foundation for what I'm going to explain to you about cellular nutrition. Life begins at conception when the sperm of the male joins the egg of the female and a single cell forms. This single cell contains DNA, which is a blueprint of what the entire body will be like, including the sex of the individual, right down to the color of our eyes and our hair. And now what happens after the sperm unites in the egg is pretty amazing. The original cell divides into 2 cells, each with its own DNA. Then the 2 cells become 4 cells, and the 4 cells become 8, and the 8 becomes 16, and 16 become 32, and so on and so on. Now these cells continue to divide and multiply at an unbelievable rate of speed for the next 11 months. At the end of approximately 11 months, 2 months after birth, the body has its full complement of cells that are about 100 trillion, with each cell containing its own blueprint of the entire body. Now, at about 2 months after birth, this wild proliferation of cells stops. And from here on and throughout life, there's not supposed to be any more wild proliferation of cells. Only the replacement or the recreation of existing cells. Now, why are cells significant? Why am I telling you this? Why am I bringing you back to some biology? Well, cells are the simplest living biological unit in the body. The body's organs and tissues are composed of cells. Everything from our eyes to our hair is made up of a collection of cells. In fact, the human body is a truly remarkable thing. Approximately 100 trillion cells make up the adult human body, and there are about 210 different types of cells, such as red blood cells, white blood cells, bone cells, muscle cells, brain cells, and so on. Approximately 1 billion cells per hour must be replaced. That's 24 billion in one day. That's a lot of cells. And scientists have confirmed that 98% of the atoms in the human body, they weren't even there a year ago. Did you know that every 2 months, every single heart cell is rebuilt? Every 2 months. Every year, approximately all the bone cells are replaced. Circulating through 70,000 miles of blood vessels are 30 trillion red blood cells. A healthy adult produces 15 million new red blood cells per second, to replace the same number that expire each second. That's a turnover of 900 million red blood cells per hour. Every day, the average adult breathes 3,000 gallons of air, and children breathe even more. There are 17 billion epithelial cells of the small intestine which are replaced every day. The entire small intestine surface has been replaced every 5 days. Our skin, it's changed approximately every 27 days. And that's nearly 1,000 new life skins, new skins in a lifetime. We shed 600,000 flakes of skin every hour, adding up to about 1.5 pounds per year. And by age 70, we would have shed 150 pounds. That's 2/3 of our total body weight. So we have new skins every 27 days. Now, our bones are constantly being worn down, and they're redesigned, only slowing down when we're old. The skeleton is totally renewed every 2 years. The liver is subjected to constant damage and is the only internal organ that is capable of regenerating large parts of itself. You can actually grow a new liver. So what kind of body will it be? Will this new body be weaker or stronger than the body that we possess today? Now, cells are nutritionally significant because they are the simplest living biological unit in the body. They convert the nutrients we ingest into the energy we need to live. Now remember, there are 210 different types of cells, around 100 trillion cells in an adult body, and these cells are being repaired and maintained and replaced all the time. Indeed, around 24 billion cells are replaced every day. Now, the link between the cells and health is often is misunderstood and not well understood, and it's often forgotten. Now, this gentleman here, his name is Rudolf Karl Virchow, cellular pathologist. He has a concept that states omnis celluli a cellula. Every cell originates from another existing cell like it. So we don't recreate new cells. We don't have brand new cells. Once we're born, after 11 months, our DNA is set. This means that the cause of a disease consists in damage to or improper functioning of cells or tissues. The organism is in a cell state with multilateral dependencies and cooperation among the cells. Death or degeneration of the cells will ultimately result in the death or degeneration of tissues and organs, which will manifest as disease. Now, the health of the cell depends upon the extracellular fluid, which exists, also known as the biological train. That's the fluid that's around the cell, but it's inside the cell. Now, nutrition is not just the study of food, but it's the study of all the processes of growth, maintenance, and repair of the living body, which depend upon the digestion of that food. It's about the interaction of food with our body and the body's interaction with the food. Our bodies have evolved over time to absorb organic nutrients, that is, nutrients from plants. The meal that you ate today, the one that Karen Deshay had served, that was all plant-based. Every bit of it was plant-based. Just as nutrients need to be biologically available to the cells, so the cells need to be able to absorb those nutrients. This depends upon having the right constituents in the biological terrain and only eliminating the variety of toxins, chemical, viral, and bacterial from everyday living. So now that we understand a little bit of the science basics, we can see that good nutrition is fundamentally important for good health. The human body is a complex system that requires a full and broad spectrum of essential nutrients in balanced and adequate quantities for optimal health. We require correct amounts of macronutrients, such as carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. You might have noticed that as one of your questions on there. Macronutrients, those are the things that make up most of us. We also require the correct amounts of each of the essential micronutrients, and namely there are 52 or so essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Now remember, every day our body is rebuilding itself and renewing worn out parts, making modifications as a response to today's stressors and fighting off viruses and bacteria. When you look at the average person's diet, it's no great surprise that so many of us feel tired, ill, or even suffer from a degenerative health condition. One of the studies that I did was children. Very few children nowadays have home fresh garden produce. Nobody has a garden anymore. I teach first graders all day, and the kids that even go through the lunch line to get a salad, it's very few of them that will do that. But they don't even have a home garden anymore. My parents had a garden when we grew up. The war within our bodies. This right here, if you look at the monitors on the side, it'll probably give you a better view. But this is a healthy human cell in its culture. That's what it's supposed to look like. There we go. This right here is a damaged cell after eating one of those fast food meals. That's what your cell looks like. It starts to break down. And this is a cell when the oxidation or you give it something that's good is included. It starts to repair itself. Free radicals or toxic stress come from stress, radiation from the sun, pollution, toxins in the water, poor food choices. The cells of our bodies are fighting to stay healthy as they are attacked by free radicals. There's also a research study that was interesting about vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin, that you only need 15 minutes of direct sunlight to get all the vitamin D that you need for the day. Are we content with losing the war against poor health? Now, what is a degenerative disease? A degenerative disease are characterized by their slow progression and their long duration. The world's leading causes of premature deaths are degenerative diseases, like cardiovascular disease. You might recognize some of these degenerative diseases. Cancer, look at that, 8.6 million. Stroke, 5.5 million. Respiratory disease, diabetes. Those are things that we hear of today. 33% of the children in America today are developing type 2 diabetes. For the black and Hispanic, the number jumps all the way up to 50%. These are some others that you might recognize: arthritis, diabetes, osteoporosis, lupus, fibromyalgia, inflammatory bowel disorder, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. I mean, who do you know today that has some of these diseases? And I like this quote by Dr. Myron Wentz. He says, "People today are living too short and dying too long." My mother died at the age of 56 of cancer, and she suffered over a year with her cancer. So we are living too short, and we're dying way too long. We're suffering way too long. The onset is slow. Sometimes it's even unnoticed. But once it's in motion, this degenerative disease in the bodies, in the organs in the body, that's why it's collectively called a degenerative disease. Now, unlike an infectious disease, those things present a clear and present danger to the body, but you can tell those right away with a fever or a stomach ache or upset stomach. Those are things that you can tell right away. Their onset is slow. Virtually degenerative disease, their onset is slow. It's like a stealth fighter. They pass over the radar screens very well unnoticed. Our bodies give little indication that we're headed down a path which will lead to cancer, heart disease, or a stroke. Most people don't understand that cancer just doesn't, show up one day. It takes 10, 20 years for cancer to develop. And oftentimes when you catch it, sometimes it's almost incurable. And over your lifetime, the risk of developing cancer is about as good as a flip of a coin. Now, Dr. Robert Fletcher states that all of us grew up believing that if we ate a reasonable diet, then that would take care of all of our vitamin needs. And I like this pyramid I put down here at the bottom. This is actually a vegan pyramid. It's not the usual, FDA. That's a vegan pyramid. You can see most of the grains and things at the bottom, fruits and vegetables at the second, and so on. I like that pyramid. So how did it get like that? What happened? Well, it happens with our soil. It starts off with our soil. And you don't want to miss Rhonda Byris, because she's going to be talking about soil and how it's depleted, and she's going to show you some gardening things that you can actually do that are pretty easy and basic that you can start up on your own. The last 60 years, commercial farms have been relying largely on the chemical fertilizers. That's what they use to grow their crops. And this happened during the late 40s. They were putting minerals such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And these were left over from the post-war armament industry, producing fine-looking crops. That's why you have those tomatoes that look so red and vibrant. They look so good. Now, the subsequent use of these nutrients quickly replaced the traditional mulching and manuring. So they don't do that anymore. Over time, the use of the NPK fertilizers contribute to the depletion of many essential micronutrients. Remember, the micronutrients are the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants from our soils. To make matters worse, we even do what's called processing our food. And that even depletes the nutritional value even more. We do things like freeze drying and cooking and extracting and hydrogenating. Did you know that the processing of cereal grains depletes the magnesium content by 80%? Up to 50% of the folic acid content in foods is lost through preparation, processing, and storage. And then typical commercial milling of cereals depletes the vitamin B6 content by 50 to 90%. And if you store asparagus for a week in your refrigerator, you just lost 90% of your vitamin C. If you cut up vegetables, up to 1/2 of their B complex vitamins, the vitamin C is lost. Our bodies need just more than nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. We need all these other vitamins and minerals and trace elements. So if the nutrients are not in our soils, they're not in our bodies. This often means that many of us do not achieve the RDA, which is the recommended daily allowance, or the DRI levels for many of the essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. So we're not getting that in our soil. We're not getting that in our plants. Am I receiving the nutrients I need? If you take a look at the spinach over here, and then you take a look at the grid, you might probably better see it on the monitors, but it shows how much you would need of vitamin E to get 400 international units is what you need every day. And if you take a look, the wheat germ, you would need 4.5 pounds. Almonds, dry roasted. Now, if you actually roast the almonds, you actually lose half of their nutritional value. 2.3 pounds. Spinach, 28.8 pounds. Safflower oil, 1.7. Kind of keep this in mind because I'm going to show you a chart that shows what is the recommended daily allowances, and we're going to do a little bit of math to see if you can figure out how much you need. Are we using the supplementation as a solution? So are we supplementing our diet? How were the RDAs originally developed? Very few people know this, but it actually was developed during World War II. And they used the men in the Army. The RDAs were, they wanted to take healthy, they wanted to give the military men some nutritional, nutrition so that they can fight diseases such as rickets, scurvy, pellagra, beriberi. These were diseases that they could get. Now, they actually took healthy humans and they established the recommended daily allowances at the minimal levels. So it's not the maximum level so they didn't get these diseases, the minimal. So what could they take so that they actually wouldn't get those diseases, the bare minimum? The DRI is actually going to take over the RDA, and that's called the dietary reference intakes. They're actually going to switch that over, and it's going to be on our labels. Both are simply that's, like I said, they're the minimum to fight disease. For this reason, we need to have daily supplementation with a quality vitamin mineral supplement, and that's a component for optimal health. Are there any recommendations for RDA levels for today? Well, this right here is a chart, and I have this as a handout that you can pick up outside. But this right here is a handout, and it says, just take a look down here, if you can't see it up here, maybe on the TV screen. But if you take a look at vitamin C, it says 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams. That's the doctor recommendation. And I compiled the information from several doctors. Dr. Ray Strand, Dr. Robert Fletcher, Dr. Kathleen Fairfield, and a gentleman by the name of Lyle McWilliams. We'll talk about him in a few minutes. But, Barry, can you switch that? Here we go. There we go. And go down to kiwi. This is a chart that I took the information from this book presented by the Berkeley University, and I took all the information that was in there. It's pretty thick, and I have a copy of it if you want to even take a look at it. But I took all the information and I compiled it onto a chart because it's very interesting to see, as a teacher, I get sick from the kids getting sick. And so I wanted to see what vegetables and fruits give me the biggest bang for my buck. And so I was very interested in vitamin C, so I can fight those colds that the children bring to me from the classroom. So I wanted to be able to find that. So I made this chart, and I made some copies. If you're interested in having a copy, you can get one. But take a look at kiwi. Now, kiwi, if you go over and take a look right there, it's 98 milligrams of vitamin C. So keep that in mind because I'm going to show you another chart. 98 milligrams of vitamin C. Now remember the chart that I just showed you, 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C per day. So kind of do the math on how many pounds of strawberries you'd have to eat in a day just to get enough vitamin C. And kiwi is top dog. Kiwi is the highest one in vitamin C. The next one is strawberries. Strawberries are very high in vitamin C. We typically think of the orange as being really high in vitamin C, but it actually isn't. Actually, the orange, the white pectin, is actually loaded with more vitamin C than the actual fruit. Yeah. Do I have to click it, Barry? No. Sure, you can scroll. We can see some of the other things. You can go down to the vegetables. There we go. There we go. This is a chart, so I put it together. Like I said, it was for my own personal use. I brought it to the people in Sun City, Peoria, just as a part of a missionary part that I was doing. And when I shared that with them, they were very fascinated about, and I had showed them something that was very minimal in vitamin C, and they kind of took it that it was a lot, and I was trying to show them that that wasn't one that was high in vitamin C. But anyway, this is a chart if you're interested. I have it out there. Do I have to click it, Barry? There's carrots. But anyway, garlic. You can take a look at the nutrition that it has in there. Okay, you can click back to the slides. There we go. And so this is a copy for you out there too, like I said. And it talks about antioxidants, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and just what doctors are actually recommending nowadays, because we're not getting what we need out of the foods that we're eating. Are you doing this or am I? Okay. I'll get it back. There we go. So you can kind of look back at that chart. If you look at spinach and then go back to the food and nutrition chart, you can kind of see how much you would have to eat in a day. That's a lot. There we go. This was interesting. After 20 years, you know, the American Medical Association, they battled against vitamins for a long, long time. They said we didn't need them. We can get them out of the foods that we eat. But the American Medical Association has actually reversed their anti-vitamin stance. They now encourage all people, all adults, to supplement with a daily vitamin. You know, and why not have children start? If the soil and everything's depleted, we should be having our children taking a multivitamin. Now, insufficient vitamin intake is apparently a cause of chronic diseases. Recent evidence shows that suboptimal levels of vitamins, meaning below standard, even well above those causing deficiency syndromes, there are risk factors for chronic diseases such as cardiovascular disease, cancer, and osteoporosis. A large portion of the general population is apparently at increased risk for this reason. So the word is out. It pays to take your vitamins. But how do we choose vitamins wisely? You know, there's so many that are sitting on the shelf. You know, how do you know which one's a good vitamin? You know, how are we supposed to, guess? Is it the cheapest price, the most expensive price? How do you choose a good vitamin? There are so many to choose from. Did you know that there's no FDA regulations on vitamins? It's an unregulated industry. There are no current U.S. regulations that enforce minimum standards of practice. There's no requirements for pre-market approval. There's no post-market surveillance. And no site licensing or product licensing required for the manufacturing of dietary supplements in the United States. So it's pretty much buyer beware. Are vitamins safe? Well, the facts speak for themselves. While over 100,000 Americans die each year from prescription drugs taken as directed, a decade, 10 years of vitamin use only recorded 14 deaths, most of which were accidental infant poisoning from too much iron in the vitamins. Long-term intakes of vitamin A and iron have been associated with harmful side effects, and they're fatal and they're actually toxic at certain levels. So if you take too much vitamin A and you're pregnant, Jessica and I were just talking. She was talking to her doctor, and she was looking at her vitamins and said, you know, she can't take over 10,000 international units. Vitamin A has been proven to has shown to cause birth defects. Iron, high doses of iron, and that's why they had the iron overdoses. They can increase actually infection and cancer and heart attacks. Most fatalities concerning dietary supplements have involved accidental overdosing in children. I guess they don't want those kids coming home with those flus and things that they get from each other. Now this is the FDA, and at the end it'll show several of the places where I've got the information, but it's actually from the FDA. And these are some of the site violations. The use of non-food grade chemicals. So it's not actually a food product. It's actually a synthetic chemical that's in vitamins. Some of them, you know, manufacturers. Many nutritional supplements on the market do not contain the biological available substances that are useful for our cells. Remember we talked about at the beginning that the cell has to be healthy. It has to accept those nutrients in a food form. Calcium supplements, this was interesting. Calcium supplements are actually made from inorganic calcium carbonate, basically chalk, rather than one of the several organic forms that we get from our food like calcium citrate. Indeed, from benefiting the body, we need to eliminate those things, and so sometimes our body's actually trying to fight off those nutrients that are not helpful for us. Product contamination with excessive amounts of lead were found in some of the vitamins. Suboptimal levels of nutritional components are claimed on the label. It's like one product had 35% of the folic acid that it claimed, so it didn't even have what it said it was supposed to have on the label. It didn't even have that in the vitamin. Disintegration, that was one of the problems with vitamins. A good vitamin should disintegrate within 20 to 30 minutes. So once it hits your stomach, it should disintegrate in that amount of time. Many of the vitamins weren't disintegrating, and actually the nurses called them bedpan bullets. That's what they were calling them. And unfortunately, like it said down at the bottom, many of the nutritional supplements in the United States, they can't even pass this simple disintegration test. So if it's not being absorbed in your body, it's not breaking down, then you're not getting what you need. Products exceeding a safe upper levels of some nutrients. For example, one manufacturer we called a niacin product because people were vomiting, they were getting sick, they had liver damage and heart attacks. And so the supply firm, that they had mislabeled their container. Like I said, it's not regulated by the FDA, so you don't know what's being put into the vitamins sometimes. It contained 10 times more niacin than the allowable safe limit. Unsanitary conditions like packaging and storaging and pest infestation, molds, leaking pipes that would get on top of the vitamins, and they have been cited that they cause a concern because they don't have good manufacturing practices. The FDA is also involved in recalls in dietary supplements containing salmonella and pneumonia and botulism and glass, and the list just goes on. But like I said before, you know, within the last 10 years, only 14 people have died from vitamins. So 100,000 people are dying from drugs every year, but 14 in the last 10 years. So vitamins are virtually safe. But the real safety issue comes from the manufacturing. Do they have good manufacturing practices? With stringent quality control, you cannot be certain, if you don't have those quality control things in place, you really can't be certain if what's actually on the label is actually in the vitamin. Products tainted with lead or other contaminants should not be allowed on the retail shelf, period. They shouldn't be allowed on the shelf. Sadly, this disregard for the standardization of manufacturing practices and quality control measures have allowed many inferior, mislabeled, unsanitary, and unsafe products to find their way into the markets of both the United States and Canada. Purity, potency, and safety are foremost for these nutritional supplements. For these reasons, consumers should ensure that the products that they are using are of the highest quality. That means that they should be finding vitamins that are using good manufacturing practices, like the pharmaceutical industry uses. When you go to buy, when you have your prescription filled, if it says penicillin, it's actually going to be penicillin in there. So, how do you choose a good quality vitamin manufacturer? Like I said, there are so many on the shelf, so how do you choose one? Well, this gentleman right here, his name is Lyle McWilliam, and he put out this book, and I have a copy of the book out there, and I also have some minis, so if you wanted to look up some of your vitamins after I show you how he's analyzed the vitamins, you can kind of see how your vitamin measures up. But he actually has a company called NutriSearch, and he has taken a panel of doctors, 21 doctors, very well-known, Dr. Atkins, and several of them, and they have all come up with what's called a blended standard, things that all the doctors agree on. Some of the more, some of the people that you've heard of probably. And he qualifies a product. It has to be a broad-spectrum nutritional supplement. It has to have preventative maintenance rather than a therapeutic use. It must contain a comprehensive assortment of vitamins and minerals. It may contain assorted antioxidants and phytonutrients. So when you look at the list of the 18 criteria I'm going to show you here in pretty soon, you can see that. Must be formulated in tablet, capsule, powder, or liquid form, and it should have a specific daily dosage on that vitamin, on that bottle. Most provide a comprehensive list of ingredients. They must provide that, so they must have a list of their ingredients along with a certain amounts for that formula. Now he takes, like I said, he came up with this standard called the blended standard. So he's taken all the research he's taken all the information from the 21 doctors and has compiled it to get an agreement on how to analyze the vitamins. And this is the criteria. I'm not going to read through them, but I'm just going to read through them. There's 18 of them. So he goes through the vitamins in these 18 areas. Bone health, mineral forms, vitamin E, inflammation control, potential toxicity, toxins in the vitamin, mineral forms, potency, completeness. Does it really contain those full spectrum of nutrients? Then in the book, you'll notice that there's like a star rating. I don't know why I'm getting feedback here. There's a star rating in there. And so the vitamins are rated in increments of 0.5. So some vitamins can get a 0, and it goes from 0 to 5. So if you get a 5-star vitamin, that's a very high-quality vitamin. But a vitamin could get a half a point. If it doesn't get any, it just gets a line, a dash, which means it doesn't have what it's saying it's actually in the vitamin. Now, out of those vitamins that get a 5-star, only the 5-star, they get like a bronze, silver, and a gold medal. Now, the gold medal is the highest medal that you can get. Dr. Lyle McWilliams calls it the NutriSearch Medal of Achievement Program. And so they actually have to, there's, in the book it shows, and it actually goes through 1,600 vitamin companies, some that you probably would know, Centrum, One A Day, GNC, there's Kirkland from Costco. There's quite a few vitamins in there. You can look them up and see how they're rated. So if they get a 5-star, only the 5-star, they can actually go through a good manufacturing process audit. They have to actually say that they're going to do that, which means that they're audited, that a team of people come in and audit just like they do the pharmaceutical industry, because those things are audited. They have good manufacturing practices too. That means somebody comes in and does an audit, and what happens is these labs, these places where they have good quality control, they have to shut down their lab and sterilize it like every 20, 30 minutes. That's what the pharmaceutical industry does, so that they're ensured good quality practices, good manufacturing practices. And then after there's like a list of manufacturing companies, and they have to go through this extensive program. And if they do, then they get that superior product quality. Now, there's only 4 companies. Now, up here at the top, you can't see it very well, but it says single product rating. He has a combined product rating and a single product rating. And so out of the single product rating, there's actually only 4 companies that get a gold medal. There's only 4. Out of the 4, only 3, the last 3, there's Creating Wellness Alliance, Douglas Laboratories, True Star Health, and USANA. Out of the 4, the last 3 are the only ones that get the gold medal for the combination vitamin. So these are the standalone single product vitamin. So what's the solution? First, you need to improve your eating habits. And secondly, you need to take a high-quality, complete nutritional supplement program that includes a broad spectrum of high-quality and highly absorbable vitamins. So the vitamins should act like food so that your body can absorb, not a synthetic. And essential fatty acids to complement and optimize this diet by providing the advanced levels of these essential nutrients that we need in our diet to promote good health. Now, this is the vitamin that I take. It's the USANA vitamin. And this one I take in particular, a friend of mine came and introduced it to me, and she sponsored me, and I now purchase vitamins from USANA. And they adhere to good manufacturing practices. They have a 100% potency guarantee. They're the only company that has a $1 million athlete guarantee. No other company that I know of has that guarantee. We've seen the Olympics just not too long ago. Many of the athletes will not take a vitamin because of a banned substance. If they're tested and they have a banned substance, they're very touchy. They're very sensitive about taking vitamins because of that issue. And so USANA has a $1 million athlete guarantee, which means if they are ever tested for a banned substance, they will pay them $1 million. They have superior ingredients. They have a balance. And down here, the NSF, that's the good manufacturing certificate. That's the manufacturing process. They have to get that certificate in order to keep this high standard. And Lyle McWilliams, in the book, he comes out with a new edition once every couple of years. I think his new edition's coming out the end of this year, I think December. And so one company might be in there 1 year, but they might drop off the next year if they don't have that good manufacturing practices, if they don't pass those tests. This is the gentleman that has a vision. This is Dr. Wentz. He's a microbiologist and immunologist. He received the Albert Einstein Award for Outstanding Achievement in Life Sciences. He founded Gull Laboratories. He actually was a world leader in human cell culture, and his parents had died of cancer and heart disease, and he felt that he could offer something nutritionally sound for people so that we can battle these degenerative diseases. He developed the first commercially available test kit for the Epstein-Barr virus. And then he sold his lab, and he started growing cells, and he wanted to take the human cells and find out some nutritional requirements that our cells need to stay healthy. So the shift in his research changed from disease diagnostics to health maintenance. He founded USANA in 1992, and down here at the bottom it says that you can trust the USANA products. These are doctors that approve USANA. When I go on the website, I can actually go in there and ask the scientist. Now, I'm not a doctor, nor do I recommend anybody coming to me for any doctor advice. Seek your doctor for that information. But there is a panel of medical experts. You can type into there. It's called Ask the Scientist. You can type in there and ask the scientist any of your questions, and they will actually give you a medical diagnosis for a vitamin that you could actually use. And then USANA is, their products are also in the physician's desk reference. That means a physician desk reference. It means that you can go and look, doctors use that to reference medications. USANA has their vitamins in that. And they're also in the compendium of pharmaceuticals and specialists. That's where doctors will go in there and look up vitamins to see what would be for a certain illness or a disease. USANA also contributes $500,000 per year to the Linus Pauling Institute. Linus Pauling is a Nobel laureate, a two-time Nobel laureate for life sciences. He's a microbiologist, and here I see some shaking heads who know Linus Pauling. And so he received 2 Nobels. I think there's only one other woman, and that's in the 20th century that he's received his Nobel Prize. And USANA contributes to that. This is his vision. This is Dr. Wentz's vision. He says, I dream of a world free from pain and suffering. I dream of a world free from disease. The USANA family will be the healthiest family on earth. Share my vision, love life, and live it to the fullest and happiest in health. And that's my information. So I have some information out there. I have the little books if you want to look up your own vitamins to see how they compare or how they match up. Do I just turn this off? All right. So let us have prayer to end the evening, and then you can be on your way. Yay! I didn't want to keep you here till too late because it's Sabbath. Oh, yeah, the test. Let's go through the test. Thank you. Let's go through the test. All right. Let's take a look at this. Thank you for telling me that. All right. Let's test your knowledge. Cells are the most complex biological unit in the body. False. They're the simplest biological unit. That's the little cell that we sometimes just don't even pay attention to. Our cells. Scientists have confirmed that 98% of the atoms in the human body were not there a year ago. True. Very good. Every 2 months, every single heart cell is rebuilt. True. Cellular means every cell originates from another existing cell like it. True. Macronutrients are minerals, antioxidants, and essential vitamins. False. Those are micronutrients. Macro are the proteins, the carbohydrates, the fats. Our bodies can rebuild itself, renew worn-out parts, and make modifications to day-to-day stresses and fight off bacteria and viruses. True. True. A degenerative disease are diseases such as scurvy, polio, beriberi, flu, and the common cold. False. Those are infectious diseases. We don't have those anymore today. I mean, very few instances that I know of. Commercial farms rely on chemical fertilizers to grow their crops. True. They don't use manuring and storing asparagus for a week loses 90% of its vitamin C. It's gone.